good evening and good afternoon, depending on your time zone. My name's Jerry Holiday, and I am fortunate enough to be the host for today's Omega Black Writers. This is our ninth edition, and we're bringing to you three more of our outstanding writers who will tell you about the ins and out of writing their books and how you can get your book written and published. Feel free, if you have any questions, to put that in the chat. We will have a Q&A after the program. However, if you address a particular question and one of our writers is free, they will address that question for you in the chat. So just keep an eye on that. We do encourage you to make a list of anything that you want to know in terms of information. And as I mentioned, we will have a Q&A session, but you do want to enter any of those questions in the chat. As I mentioned, this is Omega Black Writers. This is a program we've been doing for just over 2 years. And these three fine, outstanding members of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity will be the 32nd, no, the 33rd, 34th, and 35th published writers that we have highlighted who have spoken about 37 different books. We did have a couple of writers who published an additional book that we did bring them on to talk about. They are knowledgeable subject matter experts, very dedicated to their crafts. And this is one of the things that we wanted to do to recognize them and all the other writers. So without any further ado, we're going to get started. And we're going to start with Donald Williams II. So Donald Williams II, please introduce yourself and tell us about your book.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations. First of all, thank you, my friends, for exhibiting Omega excellence by publishing your book. I'm grateful to shout out to Brother Grand Counselor who connected me with the host today, Jerry Holiday. And thank you, sir, for your Omega Writers Initiative. I'm just excited to be here to join this distinguished panel with Brother Reynolds and Brother Washington. I am Donald Williams II, life member 8535. I'm a son of the 6th District, initiated May 6, 1989, Beta Chi chapter in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a quintessential servant leader in the 2nd District, where I lived, worked, and raised my family for 30 years in Montgomery County. We like to call that the Blue Crab State of Maryland. It has been an amazing journey to have served in 3 districts. I, again, was initiated in the 6th District by serving in the United States Army, Fort Bragg, now called Fort Liberty in North Carolina. In addition, I served in the 13th, the International District, as Keeper of Finance, Lambda Chi chapter located in Seoul, Korea. And it truly has been an honor to serve and provide strategic leadership as a member of the International Committee, and certainly the mighty 2nd District Chairman for Fatherhood and Mentoring Committee that comprises over 85 chapters across the 5 eastern states of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. As immediate past district chairman, shout out to my home chapter, Munu chapter, where I was the 25th boss list. I am grateful for the next level support in the space of mentoring. And, excuse me. And I'm just so proud to have worked with some dynamic brothers across the district, across this nation, galvanizing community and promoting mentoring. I'm excited. I'm excited. Did I say excited? I'm a first-time published author of my autobiography book entitled A Game Changer Pursuit, Educating, Equipping, and Encouraging Our Youth for Success. The book is a clarion call to action. Become a mentor, save and transform lives, young people's lives, while strengthening families. Be a mentor not to one, but to 2 youth. The book captures my journey as a Division I student athlete at Rider University in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, my educational preparation, my career as a military officer, a community leader, and I'm blessed to be an executive director for my nonprofit UCF Youth Development Organization. In addition, I was blessed to be a basketball coach, 25 years, had a stint as a head coach at Morgan State University. Go Bears. I'm proud to be a servant leader in the greatest fraternity known to across the world, known to mankind, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Hey, my friends, these are exciting times to be Omega men and certainly exciting times to be Omega leaders. It's a blessing to join you this evening.
All right. Thank you, Brother Williams. Now we'd like to move on to Joseph Reynolds, or as he prefers, JR. JR Reynolds, please introduce yourself and tell us about your book.
Thanks a lot, Brother Jerry. I'm J.R. Reynolds. I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan. For the cues on, I'm from Michigan 2 Sigma 79. That's Michigan State University in the talented 10th District. Currently at Upsilon Pi in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The name of my book is Something Bigger Than Ourselves, Essays on the Complexities of Race in America. I took a personal approach to my book, and I use essays to do it. The 25 essays are informed by my professional knowledge and experiences, but also personal experiences that I've had. Along these lines, with regard to race, I have 10 years conducting race training, including work with the Beyond Diversity Resource Center located in New Jersey, the Calhoun Race Impact Alliance. I was the director there, working as, working in Calhoun County, Michigan. And then I worked with the National Resource Center for the Healing of Racism, conducting trainings and presentations in my local town of Battle Creek, Michigan. The book itself includes my own personal successes and failures regarding issues of race. Nobody's perfect in this stuff, and that is why one of the reasons why I published this book, and especially why I shared who I am with the good things that I've done and the not so good things I've done within the boundaries of race. The emotions that you'll find in the book range from rage over racism to the joys that are associated with working with people and running into people from diverse cultures that I've met along the way. So thank you all, and I look forward to continuing this conversation, Jerry.
All right. Thank you, JR. And final, our tale, Cedric Washington, please introduce yourself and tell us about your book.
Yes, my name is Cedric A. Washington. I am the creator and the executive director of NERD Youth Services. NERD is a acronym that stands for Nurturing Education, Reward, and Determination. Our mission is to empower holistically through academics, mentoring, and recreational activities. My book is entitled The MisEducation of the Negro in the 21st Century. It's a research-based memoir that's detailing the demise of the Black people of America by controlling our culture, intelligence, and behavior.
Okay, and I smile every time I hear your book because, you know, I just you're following up such a historical piece of work that it's just so impressive that you took that project on and appreciate it. And we're going to stay with you. Okay, so briefly talk about your inspiration for writing your book. Can you share that with
So
us?
my inspiration for writing the book is because I am an educator. I like to always say, started from the bottom, now I'm here. I started out as a teacher's aide, went on to become a teacher, then I went on to the ranks of being an administrator. And throughout my teaching career, I always taught with what was known as culturally relevant pedagogy, which means that as an English teacher, I would take the content and I would make sure that it was African American based. It was centered around our imagery. It was centered around Black authors. It was centered around things in which will engage my students. So just fighting the system of education and seeing the nuances that, you know, Dr. Carter G. Woodson was speaking on in 1933 and seeing that it was not much of a change in present day, I was always kind of thinking, in my head about playing with the idea of the miseducation of the Negro in the 21st century. So that's how the actual concept became about. So in 2022, May to be exact, that was the end of my traditional academic career. And then that's how I embarked on writing a book. And here we are, The Miseducation of the Negro in the 21st Century.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, J.R. Reynolds, tell us about your inspiration for writing your particular book.
Thanks. Before I start, I just have to say, Brother Washington, I wish that I would have had an educator like you when I was in my formative years, because I didn't learn about Blackness until I was well into college. So
Thank you, man. I
kudos to
appreciate that.
you for what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
So regarding the inspiration for me in writing this book, I've always been a curious type person ever since I was a kid, and so I always want to know why things are the way that they are. And as it relates to race, being up in the Midwest, there's something that's called Michigan polite, and I'm guessing that it's in other places in the Midwest where folks are very guarded in the way that they move through life and with each other. And so it wasn't until I moved down to Houston after I finished college, up at Michigan State, where I began to experience racism. I'll call it honest racism out in the open. I would run into folks that would tell me, you can't go here, or I can't cut your hair, but you can go down the block and turn left, and Leroy's shop is there and he'll take care of you. That was where I began to understand that racism that I was experiencing up north was sort of cloaked. So another reason why for writing this book was in our society and culture these days, there's this polarization going on of either or. Something is either hot or it's cold, it's black or it's white, it's up or it's down, it's in or it's out. And everywhere else in nature, if you really look, there is no either or. It's sort of a blend along like a spectrum. And so as I began to examine race, I began to understand that it's not you're either a racist or you're not. It's like what degree are you operating in that fashion? Then there's also systems that are associated with it, and then institutions to help prop it up. So that polarization is what I'm working to deconstruct through my book. And then finally, I want to help other folks understand that there are complexities that are associated with race that are monumental. And it's critically important to not do that either or sort of thing, because if you really want to understand what's going on as it relates to race, there's all sorts of nuances that are involved in it. So those are the major reasons, Jerry, why I was inspired to write this book.
Okay, outstanding. And Donald Williams, tell us about your inspiration to write your autobiography, which I think it speaks for itself, but go ahead and share that with us.
Excellent question. Someone once said that the two most important days of your life is when you were born and when you discover your purpose. I realized in my life journey that books are a powerful way to connect people all over the world that you might never meet. Yet you can share a message. You can share a message that equips them, that shares knowledge, share wisdom and perspective that can transform their lives for a greater purpose. Mentoring is my calling. From the very beginning, since my childhood, age 8 to maybe 12 to 13, where I recall being mentored by the men in the community. Why? Because my father, who's 88 years young now, he's listening in, he was serving 2 tours in Vietnam War. Combined with my adult rich life experiences of a student athlete, military officer, a basketball coach, it has been extremely exciting and fulfilling. The inspiration for writing the book is to share battle-tested strategies for engaging the next generation of mentors. Us OG, we getting older, we got to pass the baton. We need those next generation of mentors to become game changers. I share my experiences for igniting and inspiring and uplifting a community, bringing community leaders together, superintendent, educators, principals, using a collaborative model. And in a time of crisis, we were able to roll out, implement a game changer conference for young males. We're celebrating 12 years. You're talking about we hold this male conference twice a year in the fall and in the spring, and you have over 500 participants. My book offers inspirational stories, practical application. It provides you some resources and advice to engage the next generation of mentors. The key message, real simple. There is no better investment than our young people, for they are our future. Second, we are stronger working together to save, to shape, and transform young people's lives, especially our boys. We're in a crisis, and Omega leadership makes a difference in the lives of young people. Again, especially for our young boys that seem to be hopeless and have lost direction. I couldn't tell my story without sharing my Omega story, which is in chapter 9. It reflects the importance of mentoring and the impactful work that our fraternity has been doing for a very long time. And just let me say this, I'm grateful to the Brotherhood for allowing me to serve in my passion and to promote the fraternity precepts of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift for almost 2.5 decades. Almost 2 decades. And so, hey, look, being a former bossless, we are stronger working together, certainly to rescue our youth and strengthen family, coaches, educators, principals, elected officials, sororities, fraternities, local churches, all of our stakeholders. We have a role to play. This is no time to sit on our blessing. We're in a crisis, and we got to close that gap of vulnerability that you see and I see in our community. That's why I wrote the book, and that's why I was inspired to write this book. Thank you.
Okay, that's outstanding stuff. I love what you do with your Game Changer conference, and in the back of my mind, I'm putting it on my bucket list to just show up one day at one of your conferences to observe the great work you're doing. Uh, so we're going to stay with you. So I'm going to ask you to expand and discuss your journey of actually writing your book. And once you got it written, what were the next steps for you to move it forward? If you could do that for us.
Well, let me say again, divine connections. Let me start there. I highly recommend new authors. The first look internal, then look external. Look internal at your circle of trusted relationships. Look for friends or associates with the right skill set. And when you tap into your network, you'll find somebody that perhaps has written a book, was an editor at the post office, or a graphic designer for your book cover. I was blessed to look within my circle of trusted relationships in the mentoring space, and the Lord led me to a brother. After looking external, I end up coming back to him, John Harris III, shout out. He was a church member of mine, and currently he's the Howard University professor of English, and he was an editor. And so him and another young lady, Sarah Brownell, that did the layout of the book, they perhaps allowed me to shave off 80% of the time it would have taken me to write the book and edit and review and all the particulars. So I had a lot of helping hands. And so my message to the new authors, look internal. You'll find somebody with the right skill set to help you outline your book, to identify your why, to create the storyboard, and so forth and so on.
And as a follow-up, how long did it take you from the point you started to complete your particular book?
Yes, wow. Those close to me had encouraged me to write the book and so when COVID happened, the global pandemic, it put a timeout, gave everybody time out, and we were able to start and formulating. And I want to say probably the beginning of 2021, 18 months to 2 years. I had
Okay.
maybe three editors, and then I settled down with John Harris and Sarah Browner, and from there we met weekly.
Wow.
Again, we were coming out of COVID, and so yeah, that was an exciting journey just to do this important work with people that was part of the journey, had a front row seat.
Okay, outstanding. Okay, J.R. Reynolds, tell us about your journey of getting your book written. Share with us your plans or how you organized yourself to make that happen.
Thanks. Yeah, Brother Williams, he said it, and it's exactly what I did. Um, I found people around me that could ultimately help me to pull this project together. And I guess I should rewind. So in a previous life, I worked as a journalist. Before that, it was an entertainment journalist. I've worked in marketing and advertising, so I'm a writer. Um,
Okay.
Beyond that, over the last 10 years, I've written white papers and essays on the subject of race. I've also had a weekly column in my local newspaper, and I even had a blog. In those media forms, I wasn't specifically talking about race. I was talking about slice of life all over the place. But what I did when I narrowed down my focus to write the book, and I'll get to why I decided to write this book in a second, was that race has always been something that's been particularly important to me because, like I said, I didn't have Brother Washington telling me about race when I was a kid. I had to learn that in college and then actually when I was in my adult life. And so I've witnessed the pain of those seeking to understand and repair race through the racial equity trainings that I've been doing, the anti-oppression work, which is a sort of a subset of race work that I specifically engage in right now. The actual movement toward what pulled the trigger for me to write the book was I was approached by a program officer of my local urban league here in Battle Creek, Dr. L.E. Johnson, who had this vision of creating a local library. You know how you have a library and you have books from around the country, around the world, talking about very interesting, subjects. Uh, his vision was to have a local library within the local urban league, pulling in local authors to write books about their experiences so that, yeah, you have the worldwide and the national authors, but you also had folks that were right there in the community, um, and the young folks to Brother Williams' point and Brother Washington's point had something to look to educate themselves and to actually become mentors because we're right here in the community. So those were the things that got me on my journey into publishing and writing.
And again, to ask you, what was your timeline from start to finish on your book?
Yeah, so I kind of cheated. I had about half of the essays already written through all of those white papers and essays that I had written in the past. So I had to write the other half, and I started in July. I was approached by Dr. Johnson in July. And you know how it is when you work with a smaller organization, they need something right. Well, I can't say that because I've worked with the Kellogg Foundation. It's an $8 billion philanthropic organization, and they do the same thing. Hurry up, hurry up. So it took me from July until December to actually write the balance of the essays and then structure the book into buckets from easy one-on-one sorts of understandings of race all the way to systems work and then institutional work as it relates to race.
Okay, outstanding. And that was in 2023? Or
It was, yep.
okay, thank you so
Published,
much.
came out in January of this year.
Okay, so fresh, hot off the presses, everyone. So we're going to talk about that next step in terms of you supporting these writers after we asked Cedric A. Washington to talk about his journey of getting his book written and his process of pulling that together to get a publishable manuscript.
Right. So the Miseducation of the Negro in the 21st Century is a research-based memoir. So I told you last time we spoke, last question, that May of 2022, that was the end of traditional education for me. So
Okay.
over the summer was kind of like the next step of what I was going to do within education. I knew traditional education wasn't it. So I wanted to become an educational consultant. I wanted to fix the system. I wanted to make sure that I represented, our people the right way within education. So, just kind of speaking with colleagues, and, someone told me that, in order to be a speaker, you need to write a book. So I was like, boom, all right, here's the opportunity, here's the time. So, I got the Miseducation of the Negro in the 21st Century that I've been pondering with over some time, just, with the interest that I have within, African American studies. So the process started. I started that process in August of 2022, and I finished in November of 2022. So that was a 3-month span. And the way I wrote the book is I kind of put myself, it's the creativity. I'm a teacher. So again, I know our people, we don't really like to read like that, right? Even with music today, music is not even, if you listen to some albums, some songs, they're not even long as they used to be. Used to have songs that was like 3 verses long. Now songs are like 2.5 minutes long in its entirety. So I already know that people don't really like to read. So as an educator, the way I wrote this was like a series of lectures where I really taught it. So it's 9 chapters in which I use my creativity. First chapter, I'm envisioning an all-white audience because that chapter is entitled Privilege. The second chapter, and again, this is an auditorium, and as I'm envisioning this particular, type of project that I was coming up with, I'm envisioning everyone filling up this auditorium simultaneously. So again, I'm speaking to all white people with privilege. And now chapter 2 is figurehead. Now I have the principals and the superintendents and the stakeholders of the community and education in the room. And they're all Black, by the way. And then knowledge versus education, chapter 3 is when I have all the teachers in the room. Then chapter 4, culture equals intelligence equals behavior. I have the psychologists and the psychiatrists and the social workers all in the room. Chapter 5, parents and the environment. Now I'm bringing the parents into the room. Chapter 6 is hip hop. I'm getting into the culture of our community. Now bring me all the rappers, bring me all the A&R execs, all the record labels and things of that nature. Then chapter 7 is politics. Now I'm visiting the politicians, bring everybody in the room, all the congressmen, as the auditorium is filling up. Chapter 8 is the Black church. Now I got all the pastors in the room, all of the different people that's associated with the various religions. And then chapter 9 is Revelation, 400 years are up. And now I'm looking at an auditorium full of people, and I'm teaching the demise of Black people and how they have gave us different titles over the historic period of time. We were called Negroes. Then we went on with demeaned us by calling us nigger. Then we went on to be colored because we thought that was something. Then it was Black. I said, Brother Jerry, say it loud. I'm Black and I'm what?
Wow.
All right. And then we went to being called African American. So I'm showing you over the time when we were enslaved and brought over that these titles that they gave us over the years is part of the miseducation of our people, where they control our culture, they control our intelligence, they control our behavior. And that's what chapter 9 is about, reeling it in and making it all make sense. So as I was writing this, it was very creative project because I know that I had to engage the people so they can read this book, so they can change their minds, so we can change the culture, so we can change education. And it is the read of the century. I promise you that.
Brother Cedric A. Washington, I mean, you smoke it. I mean, just from the standpoint of being able to start and complete your project in 3 months. And as I mentioned, we've had 35 uh, writers do this, and nobody has been able to. And I yeah, I'm just and then for you to be able to itemize and go through the process of what each chapter of your book is it's just outstanding. I commend you, my friend.
Thank you,
But
my brother.
yeah, it's impressive stuff. So what I like to do is just remind everybody we are Omega Black Writers. This is our 9th edition. I think they continue to excel each time we do one of these. And just to let you know, we're going to let you know right now that these gentlemen are not compensated for participating with us this evening. In fact, it costs them money to join us, and you can support each of them by purchasing a copy of their book. We would love to have you support them in that way. We'll talk about shortly where you can buy their book, and they'll remind you of what the titles are. But I want to pick on Cedric A. Washington again. You are from Indiana,
That's
correct?
right, Gary, Indiana. Shout out. Alpha
But
Kappa Kappa, AK squared.
let me throw this out there for a
Shout out
purpose.
to Tim.
Where
Yes.
are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Houston, Texas.
Why
I'm
are
in
you in
Houston,
Houston,
Texas.
Texas?
I am in Houston, Texas right now because I am presenting at the 9th annual Black Educators Rock, which is one of the largest platforms for African American educators in the country. I will be presenting tomorrow on my birthday, 7/19 to be exact, the MisEducation of the Negro in the 21st century. I'm going to introduce to the country my curriculum entitled Knowledge is Self. Self is an acronym, stands for Social Empowerment Learning Framework. So I'm going to give them a Venn diagram approach of what the educational world know as social emotional learning. It's a Venn diagram approach to social emotional learning, except it's designed specifically for African American students, but it is open to all.
Okay, outstanding. My point is, he is actually now a presenter, subject matter expert, and the event happening this week. Almost any of our writers, whether you want to talk about race, you want to talk about mentoring, they are available to come to and present at your events, whether it's to educators, whether it's a community event, whether it's a professional organization, they would be available. If they are not the topic that you're looking for, go to Omega Black Writers on Facebook and or Instagram and just scroll through there to see the other writers that we have, that you can see their bios, and they are available there all over the country. So if you're in the Carolinas, there's someone close to you that might be in Maryland, Donald Williams, or if you're in Indiana, one state over is J.R. Reynolds. But we have writers that are throughout the U.S. And actually, if you're in the national, we actually have a writer that is in Shanghai, China, who has participated with us, who wrote about the opportunities for entrepreneurship in China. So he would be happy to do a presentation if you're international, or if you were interested in the virtual. So you can go to either of those platforms and just send us a message, and we will put you in touch with whoever you want to speak with post haste. So just also keep that in mind. And with that, let's talk about back to Cedric A. Washington. We're going to pick on you still. Tell us about your journey of getting the publisher, and any suggestions that you might have for actually getting a book published now that you've gone through that process.
Right. So, like I said, the process was new for me. Now, I'm an expert at it, so I definitely could give some suggestions and advice. But so I had this manuscript. It was written, and shout out to my chapter, bro, Ben Clement. I had him read it. I had my barber also read it. Man, shout out to Ben King, matter of fact, as well. Both of their names are Ben. But I had my chapter bro read it. He's a published author. So, I understood that he understood the game very well. So once he read it and he thought it was amazing outside of a few grammatical errors. I fixed the grammatical errors and I was good to go because obviously I'm a English teacher. I'm a composition teacher. So writing is what I do. So I had that part covered. So once I had the manuscript done, I'm like, okay, what's the next step? Right. The next step is publishing. During that time, that was writing this book, Kyrie Irving was under fire for this whole Hebrews to Negro thing. And that is how the whole process went because I ordered the book. So again, I'm just kind of looking at this book and I said, man, well, let me see who published this book. So I looked to see who published it and it said G Publishing. I'm like, okay, G Publishing. So I looked at his information and I, sent him an email and, asked him who published his book. Boom, boom, boom. That was it. Not thinking about it because I'm still researching the process of looking for a publisher. About 3 weeks later, I get a response from him. And he told me Julia Hunter was the person that published his book and, G Publishing, he gave me the information, said, let her know that I referred. Did that, no problem. Boom. I talked to her. She told me the steps. You're gonna have to get your book cover art and your front back. Once you get all of that come, I did that. Needless to say, that was like May of 22. I looked up June 26, 2023, and I was a published author. So to say that, and you talking about $500 is how much I paid for it. I didn't even know what to expect with the process. It was a blessing. It was just like an effortless situation. It just like it was destiny. It was supposed to happen. So, all you need to do is you have a thought in regards to you want to put out in regard for a book. Make sure you put it out, get some people that can look over it, make sure that your grammar is good, make sure your content is good, not you're not all over the place. Once you get that, then you can talk to me because I lead you to the next steps.
Okay. All right. All right, let's move on to J.R. Reynolds. Tell us about how you found a publisher for your manuscript and what you would recommend having done that as to someone who wants to get a book published.
Okay. So I mentioned that I worked as an entertainment journalist. And the way that I found my way from after I moved to Houston, found my way to LA is I wanted to be a screenwriter. And so everybody that moves to LA, guess what, wants to be a screenwriter. So in order to be a screenwriter, you have to do something that's called pay your dues. And that means working side hustles, doing other things while you develop your network to get closer to the people who can actually read any works that you have. So I got kind of close to my screenwriter aspirations, but you know how life gets in the way, and I ended up becoming a music journalist. I became an editor of Billboard magazine. I was the R&B editor
All
for
right.
about 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was kind of close to the publishing world, so I had a general understanding of what it takes to be published, both like as a screenwriter, writer, or teleplays, or even manuscripts for books. So when it was time for me to write a book, I chose the self-publishing route
Okay.
because it was originally intended. The book that I finished and published, it was originally intended to be a local project. But I began to see that there are opportunities for it to be shared on a more broad basis because I don't just talk about what's going on in Battle Creek, Michigan, which has 50,000 people. I talk about what's going on all across the nation, including my experiences in LA and down in Houston. Um, so I guess that's the lesson for me there is to figure out why you are writing. Um, are you writing because you want to just get this information that's in your head out and have it available for other people to see? I know a guy that wrote a book. It was a biography, but it was only for his family. And it was a
Mm.
great book too. He was in World War II. He got shot down. Was it Korea? It's either Korea or Germany, but he got shot down. He talked about, his journey, but it was only for his family. And I got the privilege to read it because I was kind of close to the family at the time. So figure out why you're writing and whether you want to go global or local. Then think about publishing costs. And when I talk about costs, it's more than about money. It took me, cost me about $2,700 end to end to get my book out and into the market. Um, but I'm talking about something that's a cost that's different. That's the time that it takes. Like I don't have the abilities that Brother Washington has to be able to just bang out a manuscript that fast. It takes me forever to write the things that I want to write. So you got to think about time. If you do get this book and decide that you want to do a global or a national sort of thing, then you got to think about travel because you're going to have to go from place to place marketing your book like Brother Washington is. He's down in Houston right now. You got to think about whether you want to do that. And the final thing, when you're thinking about costs, is the exposure. So there's two things about exposure. There's good exposure, getting in front of people that want to buy your stuff. And then there's the unwanted exposure, the people that are going to just disagree completely with your book and they're going to ride you hard and criticize you, get personal with you about what it is that you're writing, and then it will spill over actually into your personal life. So the bigger you get, and y'all see it, with these media celebrities, the bigger you get, the bigger the target that's on their back when something goes wrong. So that's something else to consider. I talked about my cash outlay is about $2,700. And where I am right now, I view my book as kind of a calling card to shop a multi-book deal down the line. So this book that I have, I'm going to use it like almost like a business card as I look for agents and publishers, and hopefully they'll see the quality of writing that I have there and my ability to structure a book in a way that makes it coherent and interesting, and then use that to catapult me into like a 3-book deal. That's like my ultimate goal, Jerry.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Donald Williams II, tell us about how you did it done. Uh, got your book written and you got it published. So share with us that secret and what you would recommend to others out here who want to write and based on your experience.
I'm impressed. I'm mega proud, my brothers. Mega proud. My experience was not like that. My, I was in COVID. We were all in COVID. And so I'm one of these guys that have to be intentional about getting smart in a subject area that I know nothing about. And so instead of coming to the table, I had thoughts, I had an outline, I had the storybook again with helping hands, but I really wanted to drill down to understand the process. You know, uh, should I select self-publishing? Should it be ghostwriting? Should it be seeking a publisher? And so what I did during that time period, simultaneously of completing the manuscript, I attended Zoom conferences,
Okay.
training workshops, webinars. And some of the folks that were doing this was uh, Ingram Ingram Sparks, you had Kingdom Builders Academy, you had Black Gold Publishing. Everybody, if you recall, in COVID was doing the Zoom seminars. And so I got a great, I clicked on a link, got an invitation from Jack Cansfield. And if you
Oh,
don't know,
okay.
he's
Yep.
Chicken Soup,
Yep.
best-selling author, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he introduced uh, a workshop, 6 keys to outrageous successful authors. At the end of the day, you clicked on the link. It was about 20-minute presentation. You heard from him, and down at the bottom was a click. Click this link for a one-on-one consultation with Jack. He'll help you write your book for $15,000. I don't have that kind of money. $15,000, you got to be kidding. And so, but he gave me some great tips before I did not click the link. Settle down. My wife, no, she wouldn't be going down for that. And so at any rate, got smart on the process. A lot of the tips that Brother Reynolds and Brother Washington shared ended up in the same place. I selected a Ravens paperback. And the reason why I did that, you got to know your why. They had a great marketing program that carried you through the process. And one of the editors even gave, after reading my book, they said, this is a Bible for mentoring. I'm like, whoa, maybe it's a guide, because the Bible stands alone, but it's a guide. And so that encouragement along the way kept me focused on telling my story. All I wanted to do was tell the story about the community engagement. But one of the editors that asked me a question, why are you doing mentoring? And so I couldn't, that took me down to Wilmington, North Carolina, to talk to my dad and mother. As I was telling you, he's 88 years. I couldn't tell my story about his story. And so what I found out by asking him the question, he shared with me that he never knew his father. His father died when he was 6 months old. So my dad was born, father passed away, and the grandfather took him in. He was raised by his grandfather and a single mother. The reason I bring that up is because in all of our youth initiatives throughout the district, certainly in my nonprofit, the boys and girls that come to us, they don't know their dad either.
Wow.
And so the work that we do together is mentoring is so important and it's and impactful. And like I said, we're in the midst of a crisis and everybody has a role to play. I yield there. I'm getting pretty emotional. Yeah.
Oh, no worries. So let's kind of road to our finish line here is, and I'm going to stay with you, Brother Williams, despite your state, because I know as a true Omega man, it is not a problem. So let's have you tell people, and I think it speaks for itself, just because of what you have shared with us this evening. Why should people have your book in their library? And I saw you posted information, but let's tell everybody where they can get your book.
Let me just say this, mentoring leadership is a contact sport. We're in the midst of a crisis and, you know, we are on earth to shine, to ignite, to impact the next generation. There's no mistake that I said educate, equip, and encourage the next generation of young mentors, service above self. And so this book is a guide. It's a guide. And so I want the next generation to pick up the book, okay, read it from front to, and it gives you practical applications. It gives you, instead of starting from ground zero, here's some exercises, here's some applications that you can do in your neck of the woods.
Okay. And last item, how much did you spend on this project?
Yes, so that's a good question. I spent $4,500 to $5,000.
Okay.
$4,500 to $5,000. Feel it was worth it because of the marketing end. You can certainly be a helping hand by going to Amazon.com, purchase the book, and leave a book review so that I can stay, you know, work toward the bestsellers. Leave a book review, and I
Okay.
appreciate you in advance.
All right. Absolutely. Okay. J.R. Reynolds, you mentioned $2,700. Okay, but let's just share with everyone what, and again, based on the discussion, but we may have some people who came in late, but for the recording, for people that will watch this in the future, why should your book be in their library and where can they purchase your book?
Right now in America, maybe in every person's city who's listening to this, things are very polarized, and no other place is it more polarized than as it relates to folks regarding race. And so my book is a fast, I was going to say an easy read, but it's a complex read, but it's got some easy reading in it. But it's fast and it's a quick read, just 100 pages. It's 25 short essays, 800 to 1200 words for each essay. And it's designed, the book is designed so that you can jump around. You don't have to go from A to Z with the book. Instead, you can look at the table of contents, look at one of the titles and say, and then wonder if that's something that you want to delve into, and then jump there and just read what it is. But my book is for people that are curious about why things are the way they are. And it's for them, those kinds of people, because that's the kind of person that I am. And so I try to just write like from my heart and write in the way that I want to write. So it's not for everybody, but if you're curious about why things are the way they are and have a broad curiosity and an appreciation for the complexity that comes with difficult issues. Like right now, there's this convention that's going on. Soon there's going to be another convention that's going to happen. And what you're going to be hearing are hard and fast and quote unquote easy ways to fix this nation. And so my book is not necessarily for people that buy into that. My book is for people that watch that and say, oh, yeah, and then ask the follow-up questions. So my book talks about race, but in a very complex way. It either is or isn't. That's not what my book is about. It's about all the little nuanced things that are along the way. And it can be challenging for people that aren't used to considering the nuances associated with a topic. So that's my reason for folks wanting to buy. And then it's available, I think you asked that question. It's
Yes,
available
sir.
at all the online usual suspects, the online outlets, Amazon, Target.com, Walmart.com, Barnes and Nobles.com,
Okay.
and then it's also available nationally. I mean, excuse me,
Okay.
internationally.
Internationally. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and
Very good.
I'm gonna post
Oh,
I'll post a little
okay.
link.
All right. Very good. And we can also share that information later on Omega Black Writers on Facebook or Instagram. Okay. All right. Cedric A. Washington, tell people, and again, it's so obvious, but share with us again why people should have your book in their library and where they can purchase your book.
People should have my book in their library because the objective of my book is to make everyone think critically and question everything. Most importantly for myself, being an educator, this is a memoir for me. So this is based on my experiences, and I'm showing you through research how we are miseducated as a people through controlling our culture, our intelligence, and our behavior. And this is something not just for Black people, but this is for people of all of the world. You can purchase my book literally internationally as well. I'm on Amazon in the US, Amazon in the UK, Amazon in Canada. I am Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, all of various bookstores across America, China, Korea, Germany, Paris, France, it's all over. Type in the Google search bar in quotations, the miseducation of the Negro in the 21st century. Make sure you do that in quotations. I say that because obviously we know the great work of Dr. Carter G. Woodson. So the miseducation of the Negro will pop up. But if you put it in quotations, the miseducation of the Negro in the 21st century, then you will be able to see the multitude of places in which you can purchase my book.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. We're going to call it quits with that, but we're going to move on to Q&A. So if anyone else has any questions, you can put that in the Q&A. There's a Q&A section there that you should have at the bottom of your screen. Just type those in. So I'm going to review some questions that we've already received. And if any other questions come in, we will get to those. Okay, and we do have some answers, but I'm going to ask the other writers to take a moment to also dig in on these questions that they feel comfortable answering. Okay, this is from Dr. Bernard Jackson. This was great. This was great, and I enjoyed the session. What would you say was the hardest challenge to you writing your book? And he indicates his brother Bernard Jackson, Alpha Gamma Spring 75. Got a little long in the tooth there, but he's still with us. Okay, JR says, I guess the biggest challenge for me is deciding to write the book, then being disciplined about writing. Final thing would be to never stop believing in yourself. Outstanding. Uh, Donald Williams, do you have an answer for Dr. Jackson?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback, reiterate, every time I pass the graveyard, the cemetery, I just think about the dreams and ideas that never came to full fruition. And so
Okay,
take time out, organize your thoughts. We got a big job ahead of us, leaving a blueprint, a thumbprint in life for our young people who are, again, there's no better investment than our young people. They are our future. They need a blueprint.
okay, all right, outstanding. Cedric A. Washington, do you have a response to that regarding the hardest challenge in writing your book?
You know, the hardest challenge for writing my book was writing the book, right? Every chapter that I wrote, I was impressed with it. And I'm thinking, man, can I write another chapter like this? So then I started to create a certain anxiety. And then I had to calm myself down and make sure that, everything tied in appropriately. So one of the things that I would say is, listen, whatever is in you, know that God put it in you for a reason. So if you have a story to tell, then you have to be truthful to yourself and make sure that you align yourself and doing everything right and put the thought to paper and bring it to life and make it happen. And find the necessary steps for the people to edit it accordingly. But get your thoughts out first. That's very important. Don't worry about if you're spelling words right, if your sentence structure. Get your thoughts out first. And then once you have your thoughts out, you can put all that stuff together.
Outstanding. Okay. All right. And I see that you responded to Michael Guillory, who's in Houston. So it looks like you guys are going to meet up. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Let's see. I have a question from Mel Jones. Would any of the wonderful guidance and suggestions provided be different if I was looking to write a fiction piece of work versus educational, inspiration, and nonfiction? Uh, JR, you want to take a run at that one?
Yeah. So the difference between fiction and nonfiction is that you have to be factual as heck when you're doing nonfiction. You have to have less opinions in there, or if you do have opinions, you got to be prepared to rationally back it up um, in a cogent way. Some books require actually citations, especially if you're speaking to an academic audience, because they have a low tolerance for making statements and then not showing the due diligence that a person makes. Brother Washington can speak more on that. But if you're writing fiction, the biggest advice I can get, because I'm working on some fiction and I've had some misfires in the past, and the misfires came from me trying to write about something that I don't know anything about. So like when I told you I was doing screenplays back in the day. I did a crime scene, and in that crime scene, I was following things that I saw on Law and Order or on TV and putting that in my manuscript. What I heard back from a couple of people that were reading my book or my manuscript was that this is inauthentic because he obviously doesn't know anything about crime scenes, police crime scenes. And so that gave me pause. And so moving forward, I've made sure that I stuck to things that I knew about. So, I know police officers. I have friends that are police officers, and I can talk about them and the experiences, say that they have shared with me. but I can't talk about actually being on scene with them. What I can talk about is like when I was in the music industry, going to shows, going to the record labels, and then taking that information and twisting it so that it's not real. It's got elements of truth in it, but it's a complete fabrication and fiction. So that's the best thing that I can say is if you're writing fiction, speak from your heart and write about things that you know about, because
Okay,
the readers will
that
see right through you if you
yeah,
don't.
that's a great piece of advice. I'm kind of smiling because I grew up on the north side of St. Louis. I know a lot about crime. So that's all right. Uh, Donald Williams, do you have anything to add to that at all? Or
No, well said, well stated.
okay. Cedric Washington, any other additions to that? I kind of went to Joseph Jr. because I know he has, a bit of an extensive writing background in terms of doing it professionally. But Cedric, do you have any things that you would add for someone writing fiction?
I thought Brother Reynolds, I thought he stated everything eloquently. What I
Okay,
will echo though is passion, and that's with anything, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. If you have a passion, then allow your passion to do its thing with whatever it is that you want to do.
okay. All right, we have a question from Lawrence Smith. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you all for your work and insights. Do any of you know any of the differences between nonfiction and fiction publishing pathways that are critical to understanding how to navigate these pathways successfully? So let me kind of recap. They're basically asking if there's a difference for somebody doing a work of fiction in their publishing, the steps that they would go through, or should they look at the same way that you guys did in terms of your specific works? Uh, let's pick on Cedric. Do you have any insights in this for this question?
You know what? This is my first book, and I
Okay.
definitely do not have any insight. I thought Brother Reynolds probably would be able to answer that one.
All right, let's go, JR. You've been voluntold.
Uh, so like the biggest thing, I guess, is figuring out, it goes back to what I said, is do you want to be published by a publishing house, or do you want to publish on your own? If you want to publish on your own, then just go on and bang out your book and then I would say go the same route that you do with any nonfiction, attending events that are fiction specific. I mean,
Okay.
you don't go to a nonfiction book fair um,
Yeah.
with your fiction book. So you gotta know your market and then go to the people that want your book. But if you want to go big, find an agent, and the agent will help you to
Okay.
find a publisher. Going back to what Brother Williams said, start with your own network, find out who knows who, jump on LinkedIn, go through. Like I was looking on there, I got several thousand, or maybe a couple thousand, like I don't know if they call them friends on LinkedIn, but
No.
I haven't done this yet, but I need to just go through and see who are working in the publishing sector, and then what kind of publishing are they doing, and then approach. So that's the only advice that I can share.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay. Sylvia Anderson. Her comment is Donald Williams second. Thank you. Thanks for having a continuous heart for youth and sharing your model in your book for future mentors. So yeah, you have a fan, another fan.
Got
Okay.
another one right here.
Yeah, I was saying another fan. So because I want to hear about this game changing program of his, so we can steal it. I don't believe in recreating the wheel when it's down the street rolling well. Okay, we have a question from Gregory Wayne Smith. Is there a bruh in the Omega Writers Group that can hold my hand in the very last phase of self-publishing my book? I have all the boxes checked that everyone discussed. I just want to make sure this last piece, placing all the formatted matter in Amazon is done accurately. Reverend Gregory Wayne Smith. Okay, living in Atlanta. He's a Deuce 80, living in Atlanta. Okay. We do have some writers in the group. Does anyone kind of feel like, hey, they're the person for this question? If not, we do have three writers I can think of that would be good for you. What I would suggest, send me your contact information on social media. Go to Omega Writers, either the Facebook or the Instagram page, and send me your contact, and I'll put you in touch with three writers that come to mind are Dr. Gerald Curry, who's in the DMV, uh, Mateen Diop, who's in Texas, and Du Bois Teddy McMillan, who's in Southern California. But with a name like Du Bois, you can kind of know that he's really driven in the writing. I think he's written three books. Gerald Curry actually operates, he and his brother operate Curry Brother Publishing, and he's written three books and has ghostwritten, last count I had, about seven. So if you send me your information on social media, I will put you in touch with those individuals. And let's see if we have
If I can
anything.
add one thing to that, just
Go
for
ahead.
other readers that are out there,
Go ahead.
because I can be a cautionary tale because I self-published. You got to cross your I's, dot your T, or cross your T's and dot your I's, and make sure that everything is right, because there's nobody there to really back you up. And I found that out the hard way when I wrote my book. The thing that I did not do when I got my cover design and back design was to make sure that there was content on the spine. And so one of the things that Ingram Spark recommended was, and they worked through me, with me, and they said, we recommend that before you print out mass quantities, you print one out and you get that shipped to you and you look at it. As soon as I picked that thing up, tore it out of the envelope, it was the first thing that I saw, but it didn't have a spine. And how's that going to look in a bookstore or in a library, with something that's blank there? The downside to that was that it took me like $300 to get that copy put back on that spine. So every mistake that you make, just know that it's going to cost you. And so I learned a valuable lesson with that. And that's one argument for finding a publisher, because most of the load, that kind of load, is on them. And so I guess that's all I'll say about that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Um, Question from Sydney Smith. Wonderful discussion. My question is, did you ever lose motivation while writing? And how did you regain that enthusiasm that you had when you first started? This is not a question for Cedric A. Washington. he, he finished this book in 3 months, and he's naming every chapter. So Donald Williams II, how about you taking this one on?
Well, let me just offer this. If God gives you a vision, he'll give you the provision. I would wake up in the middle of the night with a thought, and I had a notebook on the nightstand, and I would write it down, because if I would go back to bed and let it just saturate there, I wake up, I'll forget it. And so, and the other thing I found out about myself is that, you hear people talk about writer's block. Well, there's a rhythm to writing, and you'll recognize it right away. Sometimes the thoughts and it just flows, and it might just be flow for 72 hours, and then hey, and that's okay. You get to know thyself, but the motivation is, hey, look, you got a message that others around the world that you never will meet.
Mhm.
They're going to need that to go to the next level.
Okay. JR, you have anything to add on that one? Like I said, we're gonna just skip Cedric A. Washington on this one because
Uh,
he ain't never lost enthusiasm, esteem, or nothing in his life. So what do you got, brother JR Reynolds?
Everything that Brother Williams said. The only other thing that I might add is you there's a discipline that has to be associated with your commitment to write. And so there's a lot of times when I've had to write and I just did not feel it or nothing was coming to me. But I
Right.
made a commitment to come down here. That background has like this library thing, but in reality, if I turned it off, you'd be shocked because I'm down in a dungeon. It's more like a storage basement with my office facing forward. But come down here and commit to writing at least a page. If I can write a
Um,
page, then I will consider myself a success. A lot of times I can't even write a page, but if I can get a sentence out there, then I can say at least I came down here and I tried. And so my personal always told me, he said, nothing beats a failure but a try. So every day when I was writing, I would come down here and try to write. And if I got a word or a sentence out or a page, then I'd be happy.
okay, outstanding. All right,
and
Cedric A.
I
Washington.
will say
Oh,
this. I will say this. I believe that Sydney Smith is a genius, and I would tell her that with whatever thoughts that she have, make sure that she jots them down. Make sure that she always thinks about what it is that you want to do, and make sure that you do it, because that's the most important thing. We always have the idea, we got to put it down. The genius is there. We got to believe that we are the genius, though. And that's the part that I think a lot of people misconstrue when they're writing. They don't realize that you have a gift that's different from everyone else. So your gift needs to be heard. And if you have something that's in you, it's not the lack of motivation, it's the lack of not understanding that you have a gift and this gift needs to be heard. So cultivate that gift.
okay. All right. Well, we got another one for you uh, from Jason Miller, and this is going to go to Cedric A. Washington, but we're going to give each of you an opportunity to address it. Brothers, as a future aspiring author, what advice would you give that you wish you knew before you began the process?
You know, I think the only thing that I would say is I wish that I would have started earlier. I think we overwhelm ourselves with the idea of what we don't know, the fear of the unknown. I think with anything, it's just the that's why the scripture says, you have a vision, write it down, make it plain. That's the part, write it down. And once you write it down, whether you just doodling, jotting, bullet pointing, whatever the case may be, outlining, get it down first. And then once you see it on paper, now you can start formulating some sort of content to it. And then before you know it, you have a masterpiece in front of you. So, it's not about, what I knew or didn't know. It's about just doing it. Speak it, believe it, do it.
Okay. J.R. Reynolds, I'm sure you have some advice in this area also. What would you respond?
That I'll just speak for myself. So I'm kind of a heady person, and so I'm methodical. But all that stuff just falls to the wayside when I start my writing. And I do not go from A to Z. That's like my plan when I go in. But what I inevitably find out, I'll go A to X to B to G to C. And so whatever process you decide that you want to embark on, if it isn't turning out the way that you think that it will, don't consider yourself a failure or try to stick hard to what your initial plan is. Be flexible in the way that you think about what the process is, especially if you're a first-time writer, because not everybody thinks A to B to C.
Okay. You guys are giving out these gems. Folks, you need to support these gentlemen with at least a book purchase or two. They make great gifts. There's something that people will appreciate that you'll be surprised. Okay, Donald Williams, what is one of the things that you'd like to share to someone since you've gotten through this process that you think will save them some heartache that you endured in your process?
Yeah, I, I I'm one of these guys that if you don't have a plan, any road will get you there. You'll spend your time if you're unorganized. And I think you
Oh,
have to appreciate the journey. Everything starts with a gift and a talent. Thank you, Brother Washington. And in that gift and a talent, uh, you you you, you got to trust the process. You got to jot down your thoughts, and it's okay if it takes a month. Uh,
okay,
it's a scary thing because this is the microwave generation. Enjoy the journey, not the destination. Enjoy the journey and have an outline. Back in the day when we were going through the education process, Brother Washington, they taught you to outline.
Yeah,
Uh, they I don't know what they're teaching kids to this day and time. You
man.
no,
know,
no, yeah, come on, be nice,
you
but
had paragraph, you got your beginning, your
Yeah, right,
introduction, and
right,
then you got
right,
your closing, and in the middle you got a story. I'll
right.
yield my time. We can be here all night.
Right.
okay,
Go old school. Do the Roman numeral one. Right. Remember that Roman numeral
There you
one.
go. I didn't want to go there. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I
Right.
still
Right.
use that. Okay, we got a follow-up from Lawrence Green. Thank you for the wisdom and encouragement, gentlemen. God bless and keep you all. We have Okay, we also have a question from Adrian Allen, who is our IT professional who's volunteering his time to help us. He wants to know, was there any pressure for you to finish your book within a certain timeline? Uh, we'll go back to you, Donald Williams. Did you feel you had to start and finish this within a certain period?
No, I didn't. You know what my concern was, and I put it in the book. As a military officer, we got beat up as Black officers about our writing abilities. Anybody feel me on that one? And so I wanted to
Mhm.
make sure that the outcome, the product, was something that could be proud of. And so that's why it took me about 2 years.
Okay,
And I couldn't put it down. I'm quite sure a lot of you experienced that. I wanted to make sure it was just right. I got this, and I passed on the gene to my daughters, that perfectionist. That was 2 years, two-edged sword. But anyway, I was just
okay,
wanted to make sure that the book that I wrote, that's published, first time published, was representative of not only myself but the community that was active participant in this mentoring process.
okay. And, so you're saying, no, I didn't feel any pressure. I wanted to do it and get it done right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. J.R. Reynolds, how about you? Any pressure to get it? Well, you actually did because you were writing something that the Urban League was waiting on, so they were knocking on your door. But share that with us.
Yeah, that was kind of scary because I envisioned when I wrote my first manuscript that I'd just be able to just finish it whenever. But Dr. Johnson came to me in July, like I said, we need this by December. And it took me about a week to just come out of the shock that I'm going to actually be getting a chance to do this. But as it turns out, I work best under a tight deadline. And
Oh,
so when I
okay.
know that I have a deadline there, then it's easier for me to get it done. Now the challenge for me is that I move all the way up close to the deadline, and then all of a sudden I start banging stuff out like Miss Brother Washington does all the time. But it takes me having to have a deadline before I start banging stuff out. And like what Brother Williams said. Um, it's hard to let go once I've got the manuscript tight. Once I think that it's tight, you know, I'm reading through and each word is like a baby, like a little like baby of mine. And it's a double-edged sword because unless I had that deadline, I will be tinkering with the manuscript into perpetuity. So having that deadline, that's one of the good reasons for having a publisher, because they're going to have a whip because they want to make their money because they're investing in you. And so they'll be saying, we need this done. And I imagine, like I see it in the movies, but the publishers are calling the authors like, so how's it going? When's it going to be done? And unless you're a superstar, like I'm going to go back to the music industry, like Stevie Wonder, he was notorious for ignoring deadlines that the record label set for him. One time he did an album and it came out a year after the deadline. You know, it was a platinum, you know, multi-million-dollar seller, but he did it on his own time. And so I'm not a genius, a writing genius, and I don't have a proven track record. So if somebody gives me a deadline, I darn sure better show up really close to that deadline or have a really good excuse for why, you know, I need another week or a few days to get it done.
Okay, so you're not Stevie Wonder, huh?
To say the least.
All right, there he is, Cedric A. Washington, Mr. 3 Months himself. So was that by plan, or is just that you just had to get it done, but you didn't feel, did you have pressure? Tell us what was going
You
on.
know, it's a lot of good dialogue being had here. See, Brother Reynolds just said something very key with the Stevie Wonder comment. See, I agree with Stevie Wonder. You do not compromise the art. So when you are, you know, pushing the art for sake of money, then now you're getting into a whole nother thing. So what's my point of saying this? When you are a writer, just like Brother Williams said, you're writing for people that, you know, will never see you ever. So, you know, the pressure of, I wouldn't even call it pressure. I look at it as a lofty expectation of following the footsteps of someone like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, taking on a task of the continuation of the miseducation of the Negro in the 21st century. Because as the evolution obviously progresses, one of the things that Dr. Carter G. Woodson never heard of is the culture of hip hop, right? So as he talked about these various things that are the very hindrance to the miseducation of our people, the more things change, the more things stay the same. So, you know, it's my duty to cultivate those thoughts to have our people think critically. So you cannot compromise any art that you're putting out to the world. You got to make sure that you're doing it, you know, the right way. So, you know, you can be a blessing to other people.
Okay, outstanding. All right, we have Gary Miles. Greetings. I would recommend using an audio recorder to get your thoughts down to create a think tank when you do not feel like manually typing at the moment. This can help you when you are ready to commit to the keyboard. And that's an excellent comment, but what I will share with you, and I believe, I'm pretty sure it was Du Bois, Teddy McMillan that mentioned there is a equipment that you can speak into and it will type for you. So that technology is available. And he has a question, are there any writing workshops that you recommend? Okay, JR, are there any writing workshops that you would recommend for someone?
I'm unaware of any specific writing workshops, but what I am aware of is that speak to text feature.
Right.
And that's really helpful because a lot of people aren't good on the keyboards. So you can dictate, like, well, I have a PC, so I don't know if it's different if you have like a Mac or an Apple. And I'm sure they have the technology too. But you press a button and then I'm in Word, I write in Word and press the button and then I can just dictate. So I do that. At the other end of it, like when I'm done with the manuscript, I found this feature at the very last minute. This was like in December of last year when I was finishing my manuscript. They have a feature where uh, you can like like start at the beginning of your document or really anywhere in your document, and you press a certain button, and Siri or whoever the voice is will speak out loud. The computer will read your text to you. That helped me immensely in my editing process, because I was hearing not just I do the silent reading thing, and then I would read it aloud, but then I would get tired. But when I had
Yeah,
somebody else, like the computer, reading my text to me, I could catch errors really easy, because you have most folks have a cadence to the way that they write. And when that cadence is off, or when there's a word that's wrong, I'd look up and then just stop it, fix it, and then continue. So make sure you all take advantage of the technology that's available. They're not cheats, because you still have to come up with the content.
right, right.
Um,
Okay, outstanding. Donna Williams, you have any writing workshops that you can recommend?
Unaware of writing workshops, but I do offer Grammarly.com. As I got taught in my manuscript, my niece said, "Hey, I'm in the education field. Try Grammarly.com."
Okay, Gary Miles, Grammarly.com. Okay, Cedric A. Washington, any writing workshops that you recommend?
You know, Facebook has a plethora of groups, Black writers, Black
Yeah,
authors, various things where they always have, various workshops. So my suggestion was to check out, type in Black Authors Association, Black Writers, something to that degree, and then you will find valuable
yeah,
resources.
yeah. If you go to, again, Omega Black Writers on Facebook and look at the list of people we follow and that follow us, you'll find some of those groups. There's probably at least three or four that I usually send information on our webinars to, that they graciously support by posting, to allowing us to post to their page.
And I
Okay.
think I believe that's how I randomly ran across Omega Black Writers through one of those groups.
Okay. So see, it's working. If we could get you from one of that, it's just doing exceptional work. Okay. Gregory Wayne Smith again. You, brothers Holiday, Reynolds, uh, thank you for your advice and recommendation. I'll follow up on them, and hopefully one day I'll be sitting on your side of the table, sharing my journey to bless someone else. All right. Well, good luck to you. That's why we do this. We want to accomplish a couple of things. We want to highlight Brother J.R. Reynolds, Brother Donald Williams, Brother Cedric Washington, and their toil, their sweat, their accomplishment of getting their books written and published, and the other 32 writers that have also participated in this program. And we have about another 15 or 20 that we're working with that have not appeared, that we're trying to get involved. So that is why we're here, to uh, show off and support our writers, but also to help others that have a story and don't know how to get started. So I want to thank each of you for giving of your time and making this possible with your performance, your dedication, and your scholarly work that you put together. For those of you who don't know, we get a list of everyone. We have a list of everyone who's registered, and then we compare that to who attended, and we'll have a drawing um, shortly, and well, maybe not shortly, but sometime in the coming future, we'll have a drawing, and we'll be shipping out books to you. If you didn't give us an address, you may get a email from an AOL address, which will be me asking you to send us information on where you would like your book shipped. We've sent books from California to Maine. I always use Maine because I just like, okay, who's in Maine? But somebody from Maine basically has watched us. So we got them a book. They were chosen. So we will be doing that sometime and getting that out to you. But if you have any follow-up questions, you want to get in touch with any of our writers, please message us on Omega Black Writers on Facebook or Instagram. And, we check that, if not daily, every day or two. So we will make sure that if you have a request for any of our writers, that they do receive that promptly. And gentlemen, okay, I I forgot something here. I do want to thank uh, Adrian Allen, who is our IT person who volunteers his time and makes sure that things go well. He also works with Donovan Bell, who is the chair for the 12th District IT team, and Adrian's on that committee. I want to thank the brothers of the Kappa Xi chapter of Omega Psi Phi because they uh, underwrite some of the costs involved with this program and support it financially. And the leadership, when I proposed this program 2 years ago, uh, were very supportive of this program. And I want to thank Ed Young, the 12th District Representative, for allowing us to send this information out to all the members of the fraternity in the 12th District, the 10th state, 12th District. And it's a pleasure doing this with you, gentlemen. And I look forward to staying in touch. And as I told you before we started, you're now part of the family. So I told myself we're going to do some things further than this. I just haven't buckled down to get it done, but you'll be hearing from me at some point, and I'll have some proposals for you that will hopefully benefit that with the work that you're doing. So, any last words for anyone care to sign out with the last word for everybody?
I do want to say thank you, Brother Holiday, man. It's been a pleasure, man, gaining the 21st, man. And for the brothers, Brother Reynolds and Brother Williams, man, I am definitely honored to be on the panel with you guys, man. So it's been a blessing as I get ready to start my birthday weekend. Root to the Q's.
Okay. Uh,
I want to echo that. I don't want to say any more, but because y'all, it's just an honor to be with y'all, intellectual Black men, talking about our experiences in a common area. That just that fills me up.
okay, outstanding. Okay, it's on you, Donald Williams, with the last word.
Well, thank you, Brother Holiday. It has my brothers on the panel, distinct honor. Just want to remind everybody, go to Amazon.com, purchase my book, purchase our book. It's extremely important now more than ever before for leadership in every community to work together to reset, restore the confidence and reimagine a better community. With all that's going on, our babies need to have mentors in their lives. Mentoring leadership matters. Mentoring transforms lives and it saves lives. Be a game changer. Thank you, my brothers.
Amazing.
Outstanding. You got something else for us, Brother Washington?
You know what I was gonna say, Brother Williams, make sure that you invite me to that conference that you're having over there.
You got it. We're looking at October the 26th for the back to school and in the spring, somewhere about April, but we'll stay in contact. You my new friends. Watch out.
Okay. You got a budget over there, Brother Williams, for Brother Washington?
We'll talk.
Okay, I'll let y'all work that out. All right. And Jason Miller, go to the Omega Black Writers social media page, send me your email with your request. And since you were nice enough to spell my name correctly, which you'd be surprised, how often that's not done. I will send you what you want. All right. All right then, folks. We appreciate it. You can again get in touch with us via the social media platforms. And with that, we're going to sign off, and we'll see you next time. We'll have more Omega writers coming, and they are going to also, we demand excellence, and that is what we'll provide you. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right.